Hi, my name is Phil Howells. I am, I suppose, Managing Director. That's a rather grand title, but I guess that's what I am of Caffeine Co. We have two coffee shops in the city centre, one of which is in Longford Park in Stretford/Chawton, and then we have one in Old Granada Studios HQ building. We're separated from our competition mainly by the level of detail we go to create our own food. We have our own bakery, and extremely unusual for a coffee shop, we bake all our own bread. So we bake as good, I'm not saying we're better, but we definitely bake as good bread as anybody in the city. We bake sourdough, ciabatta and focaccia each day for our sandwiches. And that kind of level of detail influences almost everything we do food-wise. We bake all our own cakes. We have our own particular individual style, which is quite Women's Institute in its application and attention to detail. We make our own jam. We pretty much make everything ourselves, apart from the bacon and sausages we put in our butties at the weekend. I think you need to have good taste. Above all, I think you need to know what you're trying to make, and for that to be the right thing. Actually, the techniques we use are fairly straightforward, and we use such a large amount of repetition that any idiot could get good at doing it in the long run. But I think to actually know what you're trying to make in the first place is the key skill. Okay, we chose Manchester. My wife is from the north, but we lived in the south, and when we came up, we could have chosen any of the northwestern cities really to base our business in. We did actually look in Liverpool, and we looked in Chester to start the thing off. And we chose Manchester because it's bigger. We chose Manchester because we felt that it had gaps. One of the gaps was that they didn't have a lot of coffee shops at the time. Only North T-Power really was in the city centre doing what we did. Things like when we came here, we couldn't find the bread we wanted to sell. So therefore we saw another gap in the market, another opportunity. And I think that still is the case. I think that there's a food and drink demand here which perhaps isn't matched by the food and drink supply. And we look forward to trying to fill that over the years to come. I think Manchester's coffee scene's excellent, and I'd recommend pretty much everyone across it. We use two of its roasters. We use Passion Fruit, who are based in Chawton, and we use Heart and Graft, who are based in just across in Salford. I think North T-Power and Tag especially are two coffee shops that are matched for any in the United Kingdom. Very, very, very strong indeed. Altrincham Market, sensational. Some of the street food operators are brilliant. I think the guys who run Tender Cow, Mama Schnitzel, are as good as I think international world class. Who else do I think is great? I should have thought about it before I came. Metrolink, for providing the way of us getting around the city. They're excellent too. I do business with him, so I'm not just kissing his arse. Mike Ingle from Allied London is obviously massively influential, as are the big players developing the city. Obviously the guys from the City Council, hugely influential. On a smaller scale, I think Nick Johnson is very influential for what he did at Altrincham Market. I think the repercussions of that will be felt for years to come, because it is probably, in my view, the only real centre of excellence in the city. I would be very, very surprised if that isn't now replicated in other places, and I think that'd be a huge benefit to the food scene and drink scene, particularly alcohol, when it comes down to Altrincham Market, because the booze is sensational. The beer and wine is just fantastic. I don't really, you know what, I'm not too sure I'm the right person to be giving advice to start-up companies. I've had my travails myself. I would say, if I was going to give one piece of advice garnered from my 3 years of doing this, or 3.5 years of doing this, it would be keep your focus. It's very, very, very easy to be drawn from your central message and your central brand development. Don't do that. Stick on brand. Personally, I think Manchester and its surrounding area is a fantastic place to live. You know, I can say this as someone from London, it's a better place to live than London. London is a living nightmare. It's too busy, it's too expensive, it's losing its soul. It's basically, Manchester reminds me of London 25 years ago, and that is not a diss, that is a compliment. That's when London was a lot better than it is now. I think for me, countryside surrounding it is sensational. You know, I can afford to buy a house, which is a nice thing. you know, if it's food and drink scene improved by 50%, I'd be a happy man. I think it has a great cultural life. I bumped into someone the other day telling me about what's going on there. There's a person who runs home, telling me about exciting stuff going on there. So cultural life's improving. I think, you know, just needs to keep on moving, as I'm sure it will do over the next 3 or 5 years, and you know, it'll be a truly brilliant city to live in. So what I'd like to say to you all is, if you aren't literally still drinking Costa, Nero, Starbucks, etc., you're really missing out on one of the best things in life. It's the equivalent of still drinking Blue Nun, which not very few of us do. Everyone knows their kind of Rioja from their Petit Chablis nowadays, thanks to the work of the supermarkets. And I'd thoroughly recommend you learn your Ethiopian from your Kenyan and your Costa Rican from your Brazilian, and drink specialty coffee. It is really served very, very well in this city. We're one of the people who serve it, but there are lots of other people who serve it very, very well. Costa, Nero serve you rubbish coffee, made poorly, and for the same price. So switch now to the Indies. All right, okay, thanks for watching. I'm Phil Howells from Caffeine Co, and I've been Huddled.